Morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that I'm coming to you today from Regina, which is located on Treaty 4 territory. Mass's work and support reaches lands covered by Treaties 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, currently known as the province of Saskatchewan, comprised of the territories of the Nehiyawak, Anishinaabe, Dene, Dakota, Lakota, Métis, and Nakota nations. Our recognition of this land is an act of reconciliation and an expression of our gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting. Welcome. Thanks everyone for joining us. I hope everyone stays safe this long weekend coming up. I'm Amber Hanover. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the community engagement lead here at Mass. Today, I'm going to be introducing Wendy Nelson. She's the executive director of CARFAC Saskatchewan. She will be sharing some of the resources and information available for those wanting to work with artists and the importance of taking CARFAC and its work in supporting artists into consideration. And that's no matter how art is used by museums, whether permanent or temporary, physical or digital, or how we do host talks and lectures as part of our public programming. So Wendy, I'll pass it off to you. And following Wendy's presentation, there'll be time for discussion and questions.
Thanks, Amber. Okay. Okay, I'm sharing my screen here. So I have a bit of a PowerPoint, so you don't have to just look at my talking head through the whole of this. Maybe let me know if I freeze a little bit. I've got a hotspot running, so it should be good. But if I come back and I've skipped anything, just somebody let me know and I'll recover everything. So yes, I am Wendy Nelson, the executive director for CARFAC Saskatchewan since 2015. I am an artist, as this says here. CARFAC is artists working for artists in Saskatchewan. Whoops, I lost my Saskatchewan. I think it's white. I have a master's degree from Indiana University, Bloomington, and my BFA is from U of R. Trained as a printmaker using photographic images, and I work as a photographer right now. That's me. I was a program coordinator before I was the executive director, so I've worked with most of the programs and seen CARFAC expand. We also work provincially and usually do a land acknowledgement similar to what you've just done. Thank you for that. That was beautiful. We are working towards reconciliation with the peoples of this land. We're very honored to work and live here. And we're hoping through, oh, my words are leaving, through negotiation is the wrong word, communication and listening and creating spaces that we can create a better Saskatchewan for the future. So next slide. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. And of course, my slide is not nexting. There we go. So little bit of history, just in case you don't know. CARFAC is actually a national body, and they were founded in 1968. Jack Chambers, Tony Urquhart, and Kim Ondaatje came together in response to a letter that they received from the National Gallery of Canada, asking them to relinquish their copyright to works that are in the National Gallery's collection. They were creating a slide collection of Canadian artists, which is a great idea, for sale to high schools and universities. But they were asking the artists to relinquish their copyright in perpetuity, and they were not paying the artist at all. Everyone else involved was being paid. The artists were not being paid. So they came together and started working towards fair remuneration for artists and recognition of copyright. We became the first, due to their efforts, we became the first country to pay artists exhibition fees. And in '88 to have the Copyright Act amended to include artists as being recognized as primary producers of culture. So CARFAC Saskatchewan is an affiliate of CARFAC National, and we came together in 1983. We were incorporated as a nonprofit in 1987, but there were two groups, a northern group and a southern group, throughout the mid-70s and on. We are funded by Sask Lotteries through Sask Culture primarily, and we do get programming grants from Sask Arts and from the Canada Council. And these are some of our lovely board members. So our mandate, our purpose is to improve the status and well-being of artists through research and programming services, education, advocacy. We want to make sure the artists are valued as a profession. Most artists are highly educated, and that they're recognized, their rights are recognized, their diversity, their art forms. So that's our goal. And that includes education for the public and for others and for artists themselves. Oops, did I skip one? Nope, there we go. So we're working towards an entire healthy arts ecology. So this is a terrible screen grab. Sorry about it's a little bit washed out, from our website. Our website is a really good resource. We provide workshops, mentorship, events for artists and for others. And we also have these resources. So this is the click down of our resource section along the top. And so you can see that we have fee schedules, contracts. The Business of Art is a website that's got interesting connections and videos. The Indigenous Protocols, gallery survey newsletter, best practice documents. Those are all really good resources for everybody. And also, just so you can see here, we have tonight, we are partnered with CARFAC Alberta, and we're presenting a webinar starting at 6:30 on copyright. And this is Grant McConnell, and he's going to also cover the new Imprimo website, and it's kind of a database for artists that is going to be using blockchain, and it may be an opportunity for artists to replace their website. So it might be someplace that you might be directed to go look at artists' work in the future. And we also have a database with CARFAC-RAAV, which used to be CARC, the Copyright Collective. And that is a place also where artists can show work, and it can be the Copyright Collective would manage if you want to lease an image. So that's an interesting workshop. If you're interested in going to that tonight, you can register for free using the CARFAC Sask member portal. Just click in as a member and it will be a free workshop. Copyright's very important, so we'd like everybody to go if they want to. So that's available. So the first thing on our resources list is the fee schedule. And I'm just gonna, there we go. So this is the CARFAC-RAAV minimum recommended fee schedule. This is created by CARFAC National and RAAV, which is the organization in Quebec. That's our sister organization. And they negotiate these fees. This is based on, I think you can see, it's based on the original fee schedule started in 1968 to 1970. And it provides kind of a guide to professional fees if you're going to be engaging an artist for various things. So the four main categories would be exhibition and screening, royalty, that's the exhibition fee, reproduction royalty schedule for non-commercial or non-advertising, reproduction royalty schedule for advertising and commercial, and artist professional services. So that would be artist presentations or installation, or new ones on there are artist writing and for jury duty in different if you have a juried exhibition coming up, you can have the jury, and there's a fee schedule for that as well. So these are recommended minimums. There's certainly room for negotiation higher. And they're, I'm just going to check and see what I did here. No. They are mandatory for some of the higher national organizations. They are recommended for smaller organizations. Often if you have grants from major granting bodies, they will ask that you pay professional fees, and CARFAC fees are the recognized professional fees. With these different ones, some of them are very, very straightforward. You having a solo show for X number of months, and here's your fee for the size of organization. It is very straightforward. Other things are a little bit more of a gray area. Artists do a lot of things, and especially with COVID, things have changed fairly rapidly. National did add a section for digital exhibitions, which hadn't been really clear previously, but they did add that. And so you can have a hybrid in-person digital show, and what does that look like for you? So so those are on there. There's a lot of subsections, and what we say is get a hold of us. Go in and have a look, and then if you have questions, get a hold of us. We're certainly here to help go through and clarify. Also, National is really good if you can get a hold of them and clarify exactly what's going on, what you're looking at, and where your fees would be. And most granting bodies are really looking for people to add in the professional fees for artists into their grant application. So that isn't going to be a detriment to your application. The fee schedules is a really big subject, so I'm just going to leave it at that, but you can ask anything and we can go back to it. The next resource on our website would be the contracts for artists and engagers. The Saskatchewan Arts Professions Act came out in 2010 and required written contracts between artists and those who want to engage their services. So there were a few existing contracts at CARFAC Ontario. CARFAC Saskatchewan licensed those and redid them, made them a little more English rather than legalese, but they are still very long. But there's several here. These are the ones that are available on our website. They're a template. They're not the be all and end all. They're a template. You can go in and look and see performance art agreements, a lecture agreement, what's copyright licensing, what's digital licensing, and you can see those things on there. And they're just giving you an idea to think about things like insurance, shipping, who pays for what part, like is the framing mandatory? Is that covered by the gallery or not? If you're doing public artwork calls, who's responsible for the insurance for that? What does the liability look like? Those things are all talked about in here. There's also a checklist of what needs to be in a contract. And I've got on the screen there, that's the publications from the Government of Saskatchewan link. So you can actually go in and see the publication. It's a PDF download of what is required by the Saskatchewan Arts Professions Act. And it was really enacted to recognize art as a profession. Artists are professionals and should be treated that way. And so this is just helpful guides, helpful information for when you are doing an exhibition or a call, a commission, how to go about that, what's your responsibility. Contracts are a little scary for people, but they really are just each person going through or each body going through and understanding exactly what is required from them and what they should expect from someone else, and when, where, and how, and for how much. So it really kind of smooths out the rough spots and makes everybody aware of what's going on. So contracts are really good. Anybody can use these. You can use portions of them. You can use mix and match. As I said, they've got more things in each one than you would actually use, but they bring up things you may not have thought about. So I recommend looking at those anyway when you have a chance. Our best practice documents. These are best practice industry standards documents, and they were also started in 2010. And the Indigenous Arts Industry Standards best practice document was completed in 2014. It had a separate Indigenous Advisory Council and Indigenous researcher and writer, and the province was traveled and community was consulted for that particular document. It's in a slightly different format than the others, but all of them speak about how to interact in these situations in a professional manner. So the one I've got up, the public galleries and artists, really gives out guidelines of what a gallery should expect from the artist and what the artist should expect from the gallery. Just giving you guidelines, smoothing the way, making sure everybody's aware of what's going on, and giving opportunity for questions to be asked as well. I think I have spoken with museums in the last year about public art commissions, so murals and that sort of thing. Also, one that might be of interest is the use of artists' work for fundraising purposes. Artists get asked a lot to donate work to different fundraisers, and a lot of times they will, but it should be understood as well that there are some tax implications for artists. So there's some guidelines within that about how to do that in a fair and equitable way for both the artist and the organization, because it can be a lose-lose situation for the artist in some cases, especially if the organization has not got a charitable status. So that's especially one to look at if you're thinking about that sort of thing. Now, the Indigenous Protocols.art. This is brand new. National has been working on this, and we've been partnering. CARFAC-Sask has been a partner, one of many partners, getting this to go. It was originally going to be a small toolkit, and it has grown over time. This is also being guided by an Indigenous advisory circle, an Indigenous writers and researchers, and it's partly a practical guide. So it's now a website with several components to it. So it's partly a practical guide, both for Indigenous artists, Indigenous communities, and for non-Indigenous artists, organizations, and communities. So this is from the website, and it has a whole range of things. There's podcasts, so you can go on and listen to the people who helped create it, reasons for it, how to use it. There's also been a couple of presentations and workshops, and there will be some more workshops coming up. So you can go on and listen to the podcasts. There's also the toolkit itself, which is a downloadable PDF. And I put the table of contents there, but you can't really read it. There's a whole section on key principles and guiding principles and who these protocols are for and how to use them. And then there's a section 3 that is specifically directed towards non-Indigenous artists and art groups that want to work with Indigenous artists or with, and how to understand the traditional knowledge and the copyrights, the community copyrights that don't necessarily fit in easily with what we consider copyright ownership. They also looked extensively at things like UNDRIP and the calls, the TRC So there was a lot of behind the scenes work, and this is a living document as well. So it will be updated continually. There will be community consultations on an ongoing basis, but it really is a resource and a place to start when you're wanting to work with Indigenous groups or with Indigenous traditional knowledge. And it really just came online in March, I believe. So it's a really interesting one to look at. It's really quite exciting. And I'll leave it at that. See what other questions. Now I put our gallery survey on here. CARFAC Saskatchewan does every 3 years does a gallery survey. So and Grant, our membership coordinator, has just started on the gallery survey again this year. So there'll be a new one coming out. And what it does is lists as many of the galleries as we can find. So public galleries, commercial galleries, artist-run centers, artist cooperatives, museums that have small gallery spaces, the library in Saskatoon that has a gallery space, alternative galleries, online galleries within Saskatchewan. And it goes through and talks about what their mandates are, what the submission requirements, and do they pay CARFAC fees? Some very small ones do not. So that's a heads up to people to make a choice. Do you want to go there or not? So as it says here, artists can determine their best options for exhibiting. It was a published piece, and now we just have it as a digital so that it's more easily updated. But Grant asked me to mention it, especially if anyone has not been in this previously and does have a space that they would consider an exhibition space that artists could show in, that they should contact Grant. And I've got his contact on the next page. So that's an opportunity. It's a really good resource, especially for artists who are starting out, who are looking for places to approach to show. And it's on our website under gallery survey. The 2020 version is up there. This is our newsletter. We do 6 issues a year. And I'm bringing this up as well because there's opportunity here as well. We like to have a couple of articles in there about things that are happening within the province. So if you have, and also there's free advertising area if you have events going on that you think would be of interest. You can get a hold of our newsletter person and talk about possible articles, or if you wanted to advertise in it, an event coming up. You need to do it the month before. So May, June will be coming out. So on the 20th of this month would be a deadline for that particular newsletter. But it is an opportunity, and they are on our website after the fact as well. So you could go and have a look at what's in them and what we're looking at. We also do a monthly e-bulletin and social media. So if you have something coming up that you'd like really quickly put out, we also do that. Just shoot that an email to me and I can get that up and advertise it out into our community. And that's it. So that's me, Wendy, director.sask@carfac.ca. Terry will be back at programs in 2 weeks. Right now, that's also me, programs.sask. And Grant Dutnell is in the Saskatoon office. We have 2 offices, I should have mentioned. And he's membership.sask. Our website is carfac.sask.ca. And that is my presentation. I wanted to go through fairly quickly and give you all the opportunities for the resources. And then if you have any questions now or later, I'm happy to answer them. Thanks so much. I will stop sharing. Okay.
Thanks, Wendy. I will when I get this video uploaded, we'll also share on our social media all of these links and stuff for all of these best practice documents, Indigenous protocols, and all of those new exciting things that I think are great resources for everybody. So I'll make sure to share that as well. If
Thank you.
anybody has any questions or discussion they want to have with Wendy here, you can either speak up, raise your hand, or type things in the chat if you'd rather.
Or like I said, you can get a hold of me later if something comes up, if you have a chance to look at some of these things.
Yeah,
Also, we have, oh, sorry, Wendy, go.
Oh, I was just going to say that I know that copyright is a big issue, and it's one that museums need to be aware of, but often are a little bit afraid of. So knowing that there's a resource like CARFAC where you can go and find a lot of those tools is really, really useful. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and speaking from experience in this position and also other positions, it can come across as kind of a daunting task when you start looking into some of these things, when you're working with artists and fee schedules, or even presentations, like say our conference coming up, things like that can come into play with some of the workshops or presentations you might be planning, or even just some community programming. It's really great to have CARFAC as, you know, a direct resource for that. There is a lot of information, and like Wendy said, it's, you know, a starting point, but they're really great to communicate with. You can contact them with your specific project or presentation, and they're more than happy and willing to get back to you to kind of help you find that resource and that starting point that you need to be successful, but also provide the services to the community and the artists as well, which is really important when you're representing your community or presenting some of these works.
It was also good to hear that it's because I think a lot of people forget that there is a digital component, and it's increasing, that just because you put it on your website or your Facebook page doesn't mean that copyright, that artists' rights are not involved in that process, and that it's good to keep that in front of mind, especially now when people are moving more toward the digital online landscape.
Yeah, there's been a big question around the digital too. There's been a lot of work done around that, because some of those things are up in perpetuity. So if you were to put up an artist doing a workshop and it's online in perpetuity, that may mean that nobody ever attends their workshops again, because they can see it online, which would then affect their ability to make a living. Often artists are gig workers, and they string together workshops and school visits and exhibitions. And so it is a big consideration for the artist.
And that comes into play even sometimes with our community chats and our presentations, say here at Mass, that we take into consideration those that are presenting, what they're presenting. Sometimes, like you said, those workshops, if they're happening, can be, you know, happening elsewhere. And if we have it online all the time, then nobody's, you know, going to attend elsewhere. They can just kind of find it. So we always take that into consideration when we're planning these presentations too. And Vincent made a really good point here. It's worth noting that our CARFAC is an excellent and glowing example that national and other provincial affiliates turn to for guidance. It's a very good resource for all of us here.
Thanks, Vincent. I wanted to also mention we have a workshop coming up next Tuesday. It's called Photographing Your Artwork, and we are partnering with the Humboldt museum and art gallery to present that workshop. It is an online workshop. Hopefully we will be doing in-person and probably digital hybrid workshops in the future. But we do partner with organizations, especially in smaller centers, to bring workshops on different subject matter. Not necessarily, this one is specifically photographing your artwork. So that was, artists, but we do copyright and insurance and tax. And we bring in professionals in those areas to instruct those workshops. But we do partner with organizations, museums and galleries and arts councils. So if you're looking for some programming, definitely get a hold of us.
Don't be surprised, Wendy, if Mass comes knocking at your door to do some kind of partnering on some of these things, because there's so much overlap in some of these areas between the two that we could find a way of lessening costs for both of us that way.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yep, we're very into partnering.
So I think it works well.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Wendy or any other comments to make, or want to share any of their personal experience working with CARFAC, or any concerns they might have in that regard? It's a quiet group getting ready for the snow day, I think.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
And the long weekend. It's coming.
Yes.
Everybody is coming. So, well, I'll end it there then. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing all of these resources. Again, I will post what I can when I can with some of these direct links and stuff, especially the toolkits and resources available that Wendy has shared on our website and social media. Right now, Mass Community Chats will be moving from no longer being offered bi-weekly, probably, most likely, over the next few spring and summer months. We're getting into our really busy season with conference coming up and network meetings and whatnot, but we're hoping to present new chats on a monthly basis. So just stay tuned for any upcoming chats, and just remember that all of our previously recorded chats are available on our YouTube channel, including this one. So you can check them out. And again, if you have any ideas for a chat or anything that you think you might benefit from as a resource that you'd like Mass to share, don't hesitate to contact us. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks so much for having me.